we are connected with each other, and this electronic media, this print media, and nowadays the social media, so it has connected us together, and we know about each other, and we can get information in very short time. And it is very important that when we are connected, we should know what are the rights, what are the responsibilities of the individuals. Through this media we keep on receiving information all the time, but what sort of information is important and what sort of information is valid, this is the main point. And celebrating this week, media literacy week, is the purpose is that we should know that what sort of information should we share with everyone, and if we receive any sort of information, how and when should we forward it, and be without keeping in view the validity of that information, sharing it to the larger extent is not a good practice. So before sharing anything that you receive on media, you should check its reliability, its validity, and whether it's true or false. So this is how we are going to talk about all these things today. And now I would like to call Mohyuddin Bayan. He is the founder of our Global Education Network, and he's from Bangladesh. He's going to share some opening remarks of this week and this session. So here you go, Mohyuddin.
Okay, thank you. Good morning from Bangladesh. This is holiday in our Bangladesh. You know that Friday is a holiday, and this is first time to meet you in morning time of in our Bangladesh. We usually arrange our session. We are working, or we highlighted our time in Indian time or IST. Just we usually arrange our webinar in evening time of IST. So this is our first time webinar. This is our first time experience in morning time of Indian Standard Time or Bangladesh Standard Time. So welcome to all. Good morning from Bangladesh. Good evening, good noon, and different type of our countries. We are arranging this webinar. You know that Global Media and Literacy Week. Global Media and Literacy Week started from 24 October and it will end. It will end 31st October. So our two session for this celebration. This is our first session, and tomorrow evening or after 7 hours we will arrange our another. We already arranged our another webinar, our Gelta project. So Global Education Network is working with across the globe for education, for learning, for educators, for a student, and for better future and for better world. Okay, so this is time to we want to hearing from our speaker, our distinguished speaker. So just I would like to welcome all our organizing team chief, our global coordinator Corina Shusdia, our honorable all of speaker, our honorable moderator ZAHIDA BATOOL from Pakistan, our honorable country coordinator or country leader from Pakistan, and all of our global executive leader, all of our continental director, global community leader, all of our country coordinator, all of our global executive member, and all of our national community member, and all of our students who are joined with us. Welcome to all. Just I would like to request we will remain, we will stay our 2 days webinar from beginning time to end time. Okay, thank you. Thanks for all.
Thank you very much, Mohyuddin. Thank you for this brief overview of this media literacy and its sessions. Now we are going to start our, start calling our very respectable guest speakers. And before, calling the name of everyone, I would like to say that I may, pronounce the names in a different way, because in every country, you have, there is, different accent, and you pronounce the names in a different way. I would excuse before I calling the name if I, may not be able to pronounce it correctly. So first of all, I'm going to call Miss Nadezhda Ivanova from Russia. And I'm going to introduce her, and she is a secondary school English teacher, and as well as she's Microsoft Innovative Education Expert, Microsoft Innovative Master Trainer. She's Wakelet Community Leader and Ambassador, as well as she's Ambassador of Flipgrid, Buenos, the Human Happiness, and then Worldwide Green Project Russia as well. She is the coordinator of that project. And she is International Cultural Passport Participant Speaker, then Education World Voice Ambassador, Russia Kahoot and Wakelet Certified Global Education Network and Global Leader, then a Global Education Network Board Member. So you can see she has a long profile of all these things. So it means that she is all the time, she's involved with different sort of things, and it's really good, and it's really pleasure to have her with us on this. So over to you, madam. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, dear friends. And it is really unusual for me, for my students, to participate in the morning session. In my place, it is really afternoon, right midday. And we are happy that today, on the final day of our term, we are presenting on the first day of the conference. So thank you, Zahida, for your introduction. And it is really true that I'm very interested, motivated person. I love doing new things. I enjoy connecting with different global activities. But the internet is the love of my whole life. So I have been in love with the internet since 2000. And I'm trying to ignite my students' love for the internet and for the global communication technologies to imply for their lifelong learning and for educational purposes. But we should remember that the internet and all the global ICT resources are closely connected with the issues of human privacy in the 21st century, especially in particular. And today I'm very proud, I'm honored to be at this beautiful, colorful, and inspiring conference, which involves both students and educators to talk and discuss the issues of privacy on the internet in our century. So just a second, excuse me. Excuse me. So today I will briefly talk on the issues of cyber safety, and will focus on keeping your private information safe while using the internet resources for your personal and educational purposes. So when we talk about the internet, different social media, social networks, we of course keep in mind the problems of internet security. So, and if we focus, especially the global education network, if we focus on quality education, of course we should involve internet resources to make our education more, teaching resources more appealing for students. And we are responsible for students' safety on the internet while teaching them this or that subject. And I would love to start with a quotation by Fred Langer. Just as drivers who share the road must also share responsibility for safety, we all now share the same global network and thus must regard computer security as a necessary social responsibility. That's why, as a teacher, whenever I'm involving my students into different internet connections, like today, for example, I always feel great responsibility on my part for their safety. So there are different terms to describe internet safety and our attempts to be safe on the internet and raise users' awareness of personal safety and the self-protection from computer crime. So I will briefly remind us to beware of cybercrime. My student will talk in more details. So cybercrimes involve computers and networks to do harm to someone's security and financial health. There are various types of cybercrimes like financial fraud, cyber terrorism, cyber extortion, when websites are threatened through email servers. There are also cyber sex trafficking issues and cyber warfare. So, and most often computers serve as a double tool. On the one hand, as a teacher, I use it as an instrument for teaching, but it can be also a target for computer crimes, and it can be a tool for computer crimes, for committing crimes. So computer as a target for computer crimes, cyber crimes, is selected to spread computer viruses, to deny service for services, and also to install malware, designing malicious software codes which cause disruption to computers and computer networks. Computers as a tool for cyber crimes are aimed at individuals to do fraud, deceive people of legal rights, to steal identity information, personal information from computer networks, and also they use ICT to compete an opponent. Phishing is also very widely spread, for example, in Russia, in my place. So phishing or social engineering, when fake messages are sent to people to trick them into revealing sensitive information. And of course, spam is widely spread throughout the world when unsolicited messages are sent by email. And that is where students, teenagers should be very careful about. So, of course, there are such kinds of cyber crimes as online harassment, when derogatory comments are spread on gender, race, religion, nationality, and other issues. Among them are cyberbullying. So cyberbullying is quite a commonplace even among teenagers, even inside a school. And us teachers often have to deal with cyberbullying of students. There are also online predators who commit child sexual abuse. And there is cyber stalking, when a cyber criminal harass or stalks an individual, a group, or even an organization by identity theft, threats, and so on. And there is such an issue like internet trolling, when purposely confusion is caused to do harm to other online users. So there is a great variety of cyber crimes. Cyber criminals are very inventive to trick us into different cases. So drug trafficking is also an issue, online, offline, any ways of it. And us, both young people and adults, grown-ups, should be aware of the ways to combat computer crimes. So there is digital forensics to investigate cyber crimes. There are some rules and regulations in every country and even global laws. There are penalties to combat cyber crimes. And of course, grown-ups and especially we teachers should raise students' awareness of the importance of private safety on the internet and teach our students to be intelligent internet users and to surf social networks safely. So again, I will focus on privacy to sum up. So computer privacy implies controlling your private data, and internet privacy implies controlling the data you uncover on the internet, different social media and so on. Especially young people often are careless about their private information they are publishing, they are posting on the social networks. And so the private information includes the sites you have visited, the records, pictures, and other media you have opened, email and discussion names and passwords, which is very serious, you have, and even bank card data and identity cards and so on. So that's why we should remember always to have strong passwords, especially to protect my private information. And here comes the final quotation to sum up. Passwords are like underwear. You don't let people see it. You should change it very often, and you shouldn't share it with strangers. And one more quotation. Privacy is not an option, and it should be the price, and it shouldn't be the price we accept for just getting on the internet. So I strongly vote for these quotations because we should be very responsible. And it even concerns myself because sometimes being so intelligent, I'm very careless about my internet privacy. And that's why I try to focus on it and teach my students to be safe while surfing the net. Thank you for having me. Now I stop sharing the screen.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having this wonderful discussion on different sort of, cyber crimes. And it's really, great to listen that you keep on telling your students that how to be safe while using the media. And I like this thing, I like your quotes as well. But one of the things that you talked about, cyber criminals are very innovative as they keep on, finding different ways to cheat us and to involve us in other things. So thank you very much for having this insightful session. Now I'm going to invite our second speaker, and she is a student, and she's a student from Russia, and she's ALINA TALALUEVA. She is grade A student from secondary school number 5, and she is global conference speaker. So I would like to invite ALINA over here.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, dear friends. I'm ALINA TALALUEVA from secondary school number 5, Krasnoyarsk, Russia, and I'm 17 years old. Today, I want to present my project about types of cybercrimes and how to fight cybercrime. Nowadays, cybercriminals use the personal information of internet users for their own selfish purposes. The development of technology and the widespread availability of intelligent technologies has led to the fact that there are many access points in users' homes that can be used by hackers. What is cybercrime? Cybercrime is defined as a crime when a computer is used as the main tool for committing a crime. A cybercriminal may use the device to access the user's personal information or confidential business information. The sale or of the above information on the internet also refers to cybercrimes. Categories of cybercrimes. There are 3 main categories of cybercrimes: individual, property, and state. property. In this case, a hacker steals a person's bank details to gain access to funds, make online purchases, or may use malicious software to gain access to a web page with confidential information. Individual. This category attracts a victim to spread malicious or illegal information on the internet. The victim may be involved in such illegal activities as cyber stalking or human trafficking. And state. This is the least common category of cybercrime, but the most serious. The crime against government, against its entities, is also known as a cyber terrorism. Government cybercrime involves hacking the websites of government and military institutions or spreading propaganda. The most common types of cybercrime. First, DDoS attacks. They are used to at the same time send a large numbers of requests from various sources to the required site, as a result of which they overload the site with a huge amount of traffic and disable it. Second, phishing. In this type of attack, hackers send emails to users with malicious attachments or the URLs of fake websites in order to gain access to their account or computer. Many of the emails are not marked as spam. These emails deceive users, as a result of which criminals gain access to user accounts of their personal and confidential information. And the last one, online fraud. Usually online fraud begins with advertising or spam, and in which they promise rewards or offer unrealistic amounts of money. And for example, when clicking on a link offered in an advertisement or letter, malware is installed on the user's computer to hack the device and steal information. And how to fight cybercrime. In the modern era of technology development, most internet users don't think about the fact that they can be hacked, and many rarely change their credentials or passwords. There are several rules in order to ensure security for yourself or your companies. You must be vigilant when browsing websites, flag and report suspicious emails, regularly update your antivirus and other programs on your devices, never click on unfamiliar links or ads, and make sure that the website is secure before entering your credentials on it. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Alina. Thank you very much for having this great presentation. Now I'm going to invite another student, and she's ARINA Grigorieva. She's also from Russia, and she's going to present now teenagers on the internet. Yes, she's going to present on this topic. Over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, dear friends. I'm honored to present my report of teenagers on internet and this conference. My name is Arina. I'm 14 and I'm studying in the 8th grade in secondary school number 5. Nowadays, children and teenagers use phones, computers, and other gadgets, socializing in diverse networks. Therefore, they spend a lot of free time surfing the internet, which has a great number of pros and cons. I'm going to talk about some of them. One of the main advantages of the internet is that children can browse various research and learn new concepts online. In chat rooms, they can discuss methods that are important to them. Personally, I enjoy searching online libraries in quest for new books. My distant friends can acquaint this of my often recommendation and good to read as well. In addition, teenagers can boost their communication skills in cyberspace. In social networks, they often come across interlocutors to communicate and make friends with. As for me, I have got lots of friends from I never sent live thoughts. We know each other quite well by correspondence. This feature of the internet is extremely beneficial for language learning, making it possible to practice different language skills with native and non-native speakers from around the world. For example, global projects and international conferences provide appropriate condition for improving such skills. International communication and collaboration also raise teenagers and broaden their minds and develop the critical thinking, teamwork, and access skills. Like most teenagers, I'm keen on music. The internet provides a wide variety of research for music lovers. You can watch video clips on YouTube, or you can download favorite songs and sing along. Thanks to blogs and products, you can also follow your favorite performance and learn about new art. Besides adventures, there are also disadvantages to social networks. The first and most concern is the children's health. Let's consider some health measures. As a mobile phone is important for me, my eyes are fixed on the screen for extended periods of time. Such routine is harmful for my eyesight. But a small frequent use of gadgets develop body strain like shoulders and back strain. I'm aware of these issues and hence try to relax my eyes and body as often as possible. Another problem with teenagers is internet education. Many of them cannot do without gadgets and social networks. Lots of teens spend better part of their time playing computers and video games. They also text message and make posts in the network. As far as I'm concerned, I am often stressed out if I cannot go online at any time of the day. A lot of my friends and me never go out or socialize without our mobile phones. The last but not the least drawbacks of the internet is information availability. Nowadays, there is a huge number of data fakes to be found online. Unreliable research and of discerning any person for any reason. But the small cybercriminals commit a great variety of social crimes. Therefore, children and teenagers should be very careful when research the internet research. Besides, they should be responsible when making our posts on the net. To sum up, obviously, the internet offers some benefits for teenagers. They need to use the cyberspace compassionate and responsible tools. And quite to say, don't believe anything you read on the net, except this will include this, I suppose. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very much, Arina, for your this wonderful presentation. And particularly, you talked about the different health issues and then internet addiction. And these are really very important points. And we are really pleased to have our students with us. And we are glad to know that they are aware of these media problems and how to solve them and how to avoid such kind of problems. So thank you very much, Arina. Now it's time to invite our next speaker, next guest speaker, and I'm proudly inviting Professor Dr. SIHAM Al-KAFAFI. She is from New Zealand, and she is the founder of Arrows Research Consultancy Limited, and she is an entrepreneur, educator, and businesswoman who is passionate about making a difference in the lives of her students and clients. She started her company in June 2014 with the aim of sharing her mentoring, training, and coaching experience through tailored programs serving her clients and their needs. She has a long profile other than this, other than her work on teachers and trainings. She's running some other consultancies and dealing with medical and manufacturing and service industries as well. Spend a lot of time on introducing her. She's there, and it's really great to see her bright smile in the morning. So here you go, Dr. SIHAM.
Thank you very much for your kind and wonderful introduction. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. Greetings from New Zealand, Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud. It is the evening here, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. It's a pleasure to be among you. Thanks for Jen. Thanks for the founder of Jen. Thanks for my colleagues. Thanks for the coordinators, the directors, the students, the representative of all countries, and the previous wonderful presentations from Russia and the more wonderful presentations that will be coming. It's always wonderful to be with you. And I will be sharing with you my, where is it? Where is it? Let's try it again. Yeah, here it is. That wonderful poster, including all of us there. It's really great to be among you guys. Okay. So the title of my presentation today is Social Media and Privacy, How to Navigate It. Thanks for my previous presenters who made it very easy and simple by introducing the topic. And today I am going to just talk to you about social media in general. What are the different tools and platforms that we have been using and the activities that everybody has been using with all those technological advancements that we are globally connecting with each other. Like now I am in New Zealand and I'm connecting with people from all over the world. The benefits of social media, some of the drawbacks, and also how to be safe on social media. So if we're going to look at the simple definition of social media, we are actually talking about interactions about people, you and I and everybody, how we are sharing, we are exchanging information virtually within those different networks and communities. So it is enabling us to participate and to network socially and also educationally with each other. So that social media is actually, it's an internet based. As a lot of the previous presenters mentioned, the use of computers, the electronic communication, and also it is personal and it's also for businesses. So we can use it through computers, through tablets, through smartphones, so different softwares and applications. Research has been reporting that there is, in October 2021, there has been a 4.5 billion people using actually social media and adopting it. So it is no more individually, it's also for businesses due to the lots of advantages and the popularity of it in order to reach the different customers all over the world. So when we are talking about social media, the main principles of it is that it is to do with connectivity, community, and to do with bringing relationships. But we also need to be careful that it's to do with the key things is authenticity, honesty, and an open dialogue. In order to be able to communicate with people, you need to first listen, then respond. So these are the icons of some of those networks that we are using worldwide. You may easily pick some of them, and some of them, if you're not using them, you may feel they are not really familiar. But I'm sure that all of you are used to those different ways that we are using the tools, like blogging, which has become a very popular. People are having dialogues and they are mentioning their opinions about different topics. Facebook, everybody is nowadays on Facebook. Although there are some people who are not, there is 1.55 billion people monthly active users. People are putting their profiles there, but also now there are brands and brand names and lots of businesses using Facebook. There is also Twitter, where it's microblogging, because you can only use up to 140 character limit in your blogs. There is also YouTube and Vimeo, where everybody is using videos and different websites. There is Flickrs, people exchanging images, video hosting. Of course, Instagram and its popularity, you can use it free photos, free video sharing. Also LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is mainly for professionals and professional discussions, although sometimes you can find some personal conversations going on. So if we are going to look at research-wise and the results of it, what are the most popular? Those are the most popular websites or platforms. On the top is Facebook. As you can see how many billions of users. After that, YouTube, WhatsApp, then comes Facebook Messenger, then Instagram, WeChat, TikTok, and then QQ, Gion, and Sino, Weibo. I am not myself familiar with those last two. So if we're going to look at what are the activities that is going on, of course, as educators, we will look at it. This is the first use, is that we can use it for education. It's also for photo sharing, blogging, videos, social networking. And right now, if you are going to look at, I think there's lots of Instagram and TikTok, you will find a lot of governments and politicians, they are utilizing social media in order to engage with their constituents and voters, because they want to win the elections. So here it is, it's spread like wildfire. So now there are lots of benefits that we can tell about the use of social media. It is connecting us. You are getting information on spot on immediately. You are getting in touch with people long distance. There is lots of information. And now we're having one of the idioms that we use. If somebody asks you about something, you would say, Google it. So go there, and it's becoming one of our vocabulary. There has been a research that has been conducted on elderly adults, 591, and they found out the value of the use of the internet and social media, that people were starting to have fewer chronic conditions. They are reducing their feeling of loneliness, and they are having a sense of well-being. So that is actually a huge benefit for individuals in the social media. If we are going to look at businesses, it's also of value to them. They are building a lot of connection with their customers, and there are lots of follow-up and having their fans for their brands, and they're creating their own culture. So for example, Denny's, they have created an entire personas on Twitter in order to market for younger consumers. I've also heard that there are actually virtual characters that have been created. They look like human beings, but they are not. And they are very popular and having a lot of followers, but they don't exist. These are not actual real human beings. So this is the height and the zenith of the creativity that happens in social media. Having said that, life has got to be balanced both sides. There are also disadvantages for the social media. We need to give it attention, like a lack of emotional connection. Some people, not all of them, and sometimes it gives the opportunity, as lots of my previous speakers talked about, the harms of cyber bullying and all the crimes that happen, the cyber crimes. There's also lack of face-to-face communication, sometimes lack of understanding and thoughtfulness. There is also the issue of becoming lazy, becoming less active. Also, some of the people, especially the young youth, they start creating a certain models in their head, and that skews the self-image. It reduces sometimes family connectedness, with everybody having their mobile and sitting there, their head in it, and not physically communicating, and can cause distractions. So we need to also look at the issue of risk of the data breaches that my previous speakers mentioned them, and the lack of personal privacy and undermining it, and lots of hacking for companies and malicious malware that has been introduced. So in order to be safe and navigate this social media era we're living in, we need to concentrate on the usage of strong passwords, long passwords. You can use unexpected sentences. You need to also have privacy settings in all those different platforms, and choose your friend well. As one of the previous speakers was mentioning, do not actually engage with somebody that you don't know. And most importantly, avoid oversharing. So in conclusion, with the advancement and technology that we have been living, the use actually of social media is extremely powerful. But we cannot deny its importance in communication and making global connections among individuals and businesses. But being literate on how to use those social media is extremely vital and important in order for us to benefit from it, and in order to evade its dangers and downfalls. So my advice to you is moderation. Everything in moderation is good. And there are a few quotations there. Moderation is the center wherein all philosophies, both human and divine, meet. Everything that exceeds the bonds of moderation was an unstable foundation. So moderation, moderation. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. SIHAM. Thank you very much for sharing such a wide information, and particularly I liked that poster that you shared about different variety of social media platforms and the icons. And of course, I am also unaware of some of them. And particularly you talked about different disadvantages of social media, and this is what we want to convey to everyone through such kind of sessions, that although we all are using these social media networks, but how to be safe and how to respect the privacy of others. So this is the purpose of having all these sessions. Thank you very much for having this wonderful session.
Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm going to invite our next speaker, and she is KILISTINA DAWBER from New Zealand, and she is a full-time lecturer in the Bachelor of Applied Counseling program, and she has a commitment to working with both individuals and the community in order to bring about positive social change. And she also sees the value in maintaining cultural traditions and ways that give people a sense of identity and belonging. And she also respects the uniqueness of each person. And she believes everyone has the right to follow his or her dreams. And she also sees her role as to assist in empowering individuals and groups to achieve their full potentials. And that's why she's today she is here, since she respect the uniqueness of persons, and she believes in other person's rights. So she's here to share with us the use of social media in teaching students, counselors. So over to you, KILISTINA.
I think can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm going to pronounce your name very badly. Shahida?
Zahida, yes, it's okay. It's okay.
Shahida. Yes, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Good evening, Malolele. Good morning, good night. I'm not sure, from New Zealand. Also, it's the land of the short white cloud from this end of the, I can see outside, and it's a little bit cloudy from this end. But thank you so much for having me today. I'm honored and privileged to be amongst beautiful human beings. So I'm a little bit nervous, but there you go. I'm here, and I've got 5 minutes to 7, I was told. But here is my topic, the use of social media, as mentioned by Zahida, using Microsoft Teams in teaching student counselors. Next slide. How do we do that? It's not moving. Enter. Oh no. Okay. Just a short, brief content. I will be covering. I'll talk a little bit. Give you an overview of the students attending the Bachelor of Applied Counseling program. I'll talk about, you know, some of the advantages and disadvantages, as Dr. SIHAM had spoken about, differences in teaching online, and then I will have a conclusion. So, okay, the cohorts, I teach, train student counselors to become competent therapists, and they are adult learners. Majority of the group that I work with are Maori, and Maori are the indigenous people of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and Pacific people, and I'm one of them. I'm Pacific. So majority, as you can see, of women, 95%, and very few male has expressed interest in this field, but we need more male. So those people are studying, the students are working as well as managing family. So they have got a lot of responsibility to fulfill. They're either new to study, or they have been out of study for a very long time. So they're quite anxious in returning to study as adult learners. So the teaching methods, and that is the my aim today, is that it's a blended learning, which means that the teaching is done, majority of the teaching and learning are done through online teaching using Teams, with a block time frame where the students are required to come into the facility and work in a personal one-to-one face-to-face workshops. So, and I'll move on to talk about the advantages, the good and the not so good. And because of time, I think I'll briefly, you know, take the most essential or the most important or significant. You know, as we've heard from previous presenters, you know, the good thing about media is that it does connect us. It's convenient. People all over New Zealand, and it has been really attractive for them to participate in completing the course because it's convenient for them. They don't have to travel far to, you know, to be able to attend the course. They can do that from wherever they are. It is, you know, it's we are able to transfer knowledge, to learn about others' cultures. It is an excitement to be able to participate in something so new. It can be cyber comforting. We heard about, you know, cyberbullying, you know, but it can be cyber comforting. So, but the opposite of that is that students can be, you know, missing out on the face-to-face contact. It's they have internet or not able to know how to navigate their way through use of Teams. There's a potential to to have misinformation. They can procrastinate, as SIHAM mentioned. They become lazy. Cultural potential to have cultural misunderstanding, media addiction, and also it can create a lot of other health issues. So what I want to alert attention to here is that moving or shifting from a row or circle as we used to type learning to a screen, a square screen, is very different, and it can have a very negative impact on the learning of students' learning. So, and I found this beautiful person, Weinberg, who recommends for teachers, therapists to be able to self-disclose, and then their self-disclosure helps the the members or the rest of the group or the students to be able to connect in an emotional level, which is the most enduring. So in that case, or in that way, it increases the effectiveness of teaching online. And there's my conclusion. Is also some of it's a recommendation. And I'll just read that this part here: acknowledging people's differences and prior knowledge, learning from each other. I see myself as a lecturer, but I also see myself as a learner. Treating people as real and non-virtual, the moral standards and principles, acknowledging diversity and unity and diversity, engagement activities, doing role plays and activities that connects people, not just connecting people with the lecturer, but connecting people, students among themselves, can be quite challenging. And using role play would be one of the key significant activity that you can involve people and engage them, and providing adequate instruction on how to use Teams. There's so many things that that are required, that I need to be covering here, but this is all what I prepared, and thank you very much for having me. I'm honored. Mahalo Aupito.
Thank you very much, KILISTINA, for having this wonderful session. And thank you for talking about difference in teaching online. And you talked about different activities, particularly the role play, that how you can use this activity role play to involve and engage the people in different activities, or your students particularly. And thank you very much once again. Now I'm going to call MEHREEN Mia, and she is from South Africa, and she is a professor doctor in humanities, education, and humanitarianism, and she is Global Goodwill Ambassador, and she is president of Success World One Academy, South Africa, and she is president of Chiparco International Women's Council, and she is also Global Peace Ambassador for multiple peace organizations, and she is Continent Director for Africa Global Educators Network, and she is Professor of Education. I have already talked about. She is trainer of life skills education as well, and multiple global award winner. She has won different global awards, and including them one of the top 30 women leading change and awardee entering Women's Hall of Fame UK. This is one of the awards that she won. And she is country representative and trainer IDYM, and there are different other terminology, different programs on which she is the trainer, and she is also the founder of MIA company. So she's lifelong learner and humanitarian. So here you go, MEHREEN Mia, it's your turn now to share your knowledge and your insight with us. Thank you.
Zahida,
Are you yes?
unfortunately, I think she lost the connection. She
Okay,
said
no problem.
electricity is not there. So let's go further.
All right, no problem. We'll call her afterwards when she reconnects. And so now I'm going to call Dr. Rita. So Dr. Rita is here with us, and she is a Bachelor of Business Administration from Lenspeak Study Center, and that's teachers training, teacher of English as a foreign language. She has done Masters of Education in area of teaching and investigation, Masters in didactic and innovation in English, and she is PhD in science education, and she has done several certifications from connoisseur evaluator, as well as diplomas and different courses and certificates. So there's a long list of different diplomas and certificates that she has. And she is currently working as academic director of a training school, national coordinator at the Santander University, and she is a coordinator of annual congress and as academic advisor at the postgraduate level of the same Santander University in the state of Jalisco. I have so many other things to share, but I won't, I won't be there in the time between you and Rita. So she's there to share whatever, she has prepared for today's session. So over to you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon. It's midnight here in Mexico, so I'm quite falling asleep. But we didn't prepare. I hope my colleague from Mexico could also make it. We're having problems with the internet also, but we didn't prepare a presentation. We are going to give an outlook, a general outlook on media and human privacy in the 21st century. Thank you very much for inviting us. Thank you for being here. It has been a pleasure. We have been listening to the presentations, very interesting presentations. I'm going to take my background because I think we're having problems for me. Okay, I think it's better this way. They have been excellent presentations. They have been giving us a lot of information. So maybe what I'm gonna do right now is just give a general outlook on what is media and human privacy in the 21st century. Nowadays, virtually everyone's data is saved and exchanged via the internet. This has made individuals' data easily accessible to a large number of other people, organizations, and hackers, making them vulnerable to cyber attacks. Hence, it becomes very important for people to have control over their personal data with rewards on to how to be collected, how much it is collected, and how it is used by different corporations and third parties. With the conversation of freely available data on the internet and specific personal information in the hands of corporations and governments, data privacy laws have become one of the most important requirements in the 21st century. Data privacy regulations help to protect the way an individual's data is used to some extent by establishing checks on the collecting and processing of data by various organizations. There can be no doubt that digital technologies have thrust our world forward towards unprecedented human progress. Yet the digital age has also brought with it immense new challenges in protecting human rights and democracy. We don't have to look far to see indicators of regression. Online hate speech and disinformation are circulating at an unaccelerated pace. Journalists, politicians, and human rights defenders face constant surveillance and are subject to frequent online attacks. Pegasus spyware is reportedly being used in 45 countries, often in total secrecy and outside of any legal framework. Responding to these concerns is extremely challenging, as regulating communications always creates risk for the protection of freedom of expression. Internet and media shutdowns around the world, including in Europe, are also on the rise. As more countries follow suit with such measures, these disturbing trends have ramifications for everyone. Safeguarding human rights and democratic space in the digital age has become more crucial than ever. First, protecting our right to participate is central to the protection of democracy. Civil society plays a key role here. It must be meaningfully engaged in the development of policies, regulation, and other measures relating to digital technologies and the online space. Journalists and civil society actors must have open and secure access to online spaces, free from surveillance and censorship. States and online companies have a responsibility to ensure this and make sure we have resources when threats arise. Secondly, the right to freedom of expression must be preserved online as well as offline, and must go hand by hand in addressing online hate speech and disinformation. While social media provides unique opportunities for connecting with others and mobilizing public debates, we are aware of companies' lack of effectiveness responding to users' concerns, their openness and troubling market dominance, as well as governments' failures to put in place rights respecting regulation on this space. Crucially, any measures taken by companies and states to regulate speech must respond to the three-part and based of the principles of legality, necessity, and proportionality. The free flow of information is particularly vital in conflict situations, such as the current war in Ukraine, keeping the communication infrastructure operational and accessible to all, allowing the media to perform the work safely is particularly important. At the same time, widespread censorship and wholesale blocking of communication channels can be counterproductive, increasing the exposure of people to propaganda. Neither blunt laws or tools that curtail expressions nor internet shutdowns are the answer. Finally, we need to urgently address our right to privacy in the digital realm. Intrusive measures by states and businesses enable surveillance that feeds analysis, prediction, and even manipulation of our behavior. At times of the determinant of free, fair elections and democratic processes. Recent revelations about global abuses of spyware targeting journalism, human rights defenders, dissidents, opposition politicians, and diplomats are a flagrant violation to right of privacy. I emphasize that these abuses must stop, and again call for the moratorium on the sale and transfer of surveillance technology until human rights protection are in place. The ongoing threat to the right on privacy plays out heavily on social media. Encryption and anonymity tools can counter this threat and allows users to exercise their rights to freedom of opinion and expression more safely. In parallel, national laws should be developed to ensure strong data protection in line with human rights standards. Well, thank you very much. This was our overview of what media and human privacy in the 21st century is happening. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Dr. Rita, for sharing with us this media literacy and in the 21st century. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to invite our next speaker, and she's LYLYANA MARYLU Flores from Mexico. And LYLYANA is going to introduce herself Liliana, are you there?
I don't think she's here. I received a message from her and the student that they're having trouble with the internet. It's
Okay, no
midnight. I
problem.
said it's 1 o'clock a.m. here in Mexico.
Oh, all right, no problem, no problem. So we are going to call our next presenter, and she's Aida Villas. She's also from Mexico. And is she there? Aida, are you there?
No, neither is she. Sorry.
Okay, no problem, no problem. I can understand if it's midnight, so it's very difficult to catch up with such kind of things. All right, so I'm going to call our next speaker, and she's SACHA KALURI. She's from Australia, and I have a very long list of her, contributions. She is one of the Australia's most renowned motivational speakers, presenting in person to more than 150 audiences each year in Australia, USA and New Zealand. And her 23-year career in the industry has led her to being the CEO of the motivational company, and she is the director of Australian Teenage Expo as well. And she has also hosted and produced many high-rating TV shows, having a weekly radio program and a podcast with Australia's most popular radio stations. SACHA has been a column writer over 108 top regarded Australian newspaper, and finally writing her own international book for parents, The Two Worlds of Your Teenager. SACHA has presented to more than 1 million young around the world. She's passionate about young people discovering who they are, giving them the direction to follow their dreams, motivating them to get started, then giving them the confidence to keep going when it all falls apart. Above all, what she is most proud of is her work with various charities, international, and sitting on the board of Childwise and being a part of changing the Australian laws around child sex exfoliations. So here she goes. SACHA, it's over to you.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you so much, Bahilda, for having me. It's really a great pleasure, and I really appreciate you having me here. I thought I'd do my presentation today on connecting with your students, because I know in this group there's probably a majority.
SACHA, sorry to interrupt. Can you speak a bit louder, because we can hear you, but it's not that clear.
Oh, okay, no problem at all. No problem. If I speak louder now, is that okay? Is that much better?
Yes, it's a little bit better.
Okay. So I thought I would actually do my presentation today on connecting with your students. So in my career over the past 23 years, I've probably worked with more than 1.5 million students around the world, and including Australia, America, New Zealand, and also working online in various countries as well. So in that time, I've learned a lot about what it actually means to connect with students. So for example, when we're actually connecting with students, that's when we actually go back and we make such a big difference in how we actually teach them. So it's often not so much the content of what we teach, it's actually how we actually connect with them that makes a resemble difference in what that does. So it was just really about looking forward and saying, what does it actually take to be a great teacher? And I look at this, and I remember back when I began earlier in my career, I remember that I would seek a lot of the advice of people that were speakers, teachers, a lot of these people, so that I knew a better way on how I would actually connect. And I remember one person actually said to me, Sasha, the fact that you're asking the question just shows that you're making that connection. And so what I really want to say to this is that if people are engaging in trying to discover who they are, trying to work out how they can best connect with their students, most likely they're already ahead of the game in the first place, because they're already doing that. So what this really means is it goes back to thinking, how can I do this in the best version of who I am? So it's not about saying how I can do it for myself. It's actually about how I can do it versus watching other people. It's great to see people working in their own ways, and mimicking them or learning from them to be able to how they can integrate their other people's strategies. But it's really about actually getting to know yourself and your own self-development, to being able to see how you best connect, because just if you're seeing the way I do it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work through your own personality. So it's really about looking at your own self. Being a great teacher really just means that a lot of the research that I've done in what that means is it actually means not necessarily in how you're teaching, but really giving that student and stretching their own ability on what they think they are capable of learning. So instead of actually thinking that they are capable of this, actually stretching that and seeing that it can be much bigger and much different how they can work with each other. Understanding that teachers are actually not parents, and often some of us teachers are actually parents, and it's such a defined job that it's not that, because a lot of time with parenting we're just so much full of caring, whereas the teacher's guide is really for them to not necessarily even teach them the curriculum and what that actually means. That's obviously one part of it. The second part is actually to be able to teach them how they can go out there and learn it for themselves, because there won't always be people around them that can actually teach them. It's really about saying, constantly reminding them that we as is to go out and find it for themselves. And you'll know, for example, when you're working with when you're a parent, for example, teaching a child how to tie their shoelace. As a parent, it's much easier to just tie that shoelace off and send them away. Whereas as a teacher, it's about showing them how they do it and constantly getting them to do it themselves. So it's a very different, distinct way on how we actually do that as parents and as teachers. Also want to talk about the fact that often on the spectrum of teaching, there can be a really, really strict teacher and then a teacher that allows for much more freedom within the classroom. I actually say that there is a place for all of those kind of teachers. I'm not here to say one is better than the other, because often that strict teacher will actually have clear boundaries within that space and mean that people are much more able to feel safer in the classroom. They're much more able to feel like they have a structured learning. They know exactly what's expected, versus that teacher that's much more free. They feel like they don't have that necessarily that same structure. They but yet they can maybe communicate more with them in that relationship side, because that is being built more. Why I'm actually saying this is because the important part of this is to actually analyze yourself, and in that spectrum from one side to the other, to be able to see where you best fit in and where you are comfortable. So, for example, I'd be more on this side of being a free teacher, but I wouldn't be completely over this side. And I do know that when you need to be strict, you can also bring that in there as well. It's really about finding what is your most comfortable space. Now, when we find that comfortable space and work within it, the reason I actually say why it's so important to be able to do that is because when you're a teacher, it's almost like your vulnerability is actually quite obvious to people, and people can see when you're scared, when you're nervous, when you feel like you're fumbling, when you're not doing so well. So when you find that space of where you're most comfortable at and keep on that same road, you'll find that the students, whether they're little kids or whether they're right up to university students, will actually be able to comfortably be able to fit into your zone as well. And that's really about being real and what that takes. I guess that in order to be a great teacher, there does need to be a whole lot of passion within teachers. And that's what, teaching can actually be exhausting and sometimes have a smaller shelf life because of what can actually happen here. And so it's really important that we send and say, what is it that motivates us, excites us, energizes us, gives us enthusiasm, allows us to build positive relationships, and constantly come back to that and be able to see when those parts of you are not at their peak, what is it that you can do to refuel yourself? So maybe it does mean that you are able to move into a different part of teaching, take on different responsibilities and different roles, really be able to see, because we do need to keep it up at that level, and it's actually an exhausting job. And often we can move around as teachers to be able to find a different space. What we really want to be able to do as teachers is be able to set goals for a student and let them know quite early. I'd say that we would let them know at the beginning of every class. We would let them know at the beginning of every year, every term, is to say, this is what you are going to learn, and this is how I'm going to teach you. And then when you finish this, you will actually know these particular things. And what that does is that then it gives that student that knowing that at the end, in the 6 months, a week, or whatever, or at the end of the class, they will walk out actually knowing something much different. And it's creating that low anxiety for students and not having that fear of failure. And so that, and then it's able for us to be able to pinpoint that down and be able to see if that student isn't learning that, how can we best teach them so that they do have success and they aren't failing in those particular areas. So that's where we need to be able to see in our teaching style that we have various different ways that we do that. So within our states, for us to feel comfortable within ourselves, we do also need to see that there are many ways that you can teach things. So we must need to be able to make sure that we have lots of visual cues. And in that visual cues, it can actually be our own body language as well. How we use it. Are we constantly sitting down? Do we stand up? How do we use our body? How do we use our tone? How do we use our own enthusiasm within a classroom? How do we use their senses? So do we get them up and moving? How do we actually get them to be able to feel different things? And often that can be by actually telling stories and you giving them some sort of emotional connection to what it is that you're teaching. Making sure that we use music and body movement within that. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're constantly getting them up and moving around. It just means that in any way, shape, maybe it can be by setting a tone on how they enter the room and making sure that the temperature of the room is right, and really building that energy and constantly giving them that space to be able to talk amongst themselves and discuss how that can actually be, so that you're then able to look back and reflect on their body languages, how they are actually getting involved, and how they can make sure that we change this up. So we're not using that same formula on what it is that we're doing. We're using as many cues as we possibly can to be able to teach students. I think that the main thing is that we really want to instill confidence in anyone that we're working with, whatever age we do. And remember, and really going back down to it and saying, most of us at some point in our lives have had a teacher that changed us, that actually cared much more than everybody else, that sat back and took us back and understood us and gave us that ability to empower us and make us feel like we were able to encourage us and make us feel like we could actually achieve that and to have that patience. So it's really about how we can actually be able to think how we can actually connect with that student and be that teacher that they can go to. And I often say to students, when they are needing to talk to somebody, that teacher that they can connect with the most is the one that they should go and talk to. So even though within an education system, there are those hierarchies on who they go with, if you best connect with your maths and science teacher, and that's who you need to talk to, as that teacher, we need to be open and vulnerable and have no judgment on what those students can be actually bringing to the table. Because as we know, life is very, very complicated, and students have very, very complicated things going on in their lives that will affect their own learning, that are outside the scope of how we can actually teach them. And I guess my last part here is, whilst doing this teaching, it's almost like it's a very important thing to be able to reveal something of ourselves. So if we're asking students to reveal things about themselves, it's so important for teachers to reveal some of their own vulnerability of who they are and what they do. And that might be at the start of the year, revealing some things about yourself so that they can then pinpoint and be able to get back and think, we can connect with this, how can we remember that? Constantly letting them know within the boundaries of whoever it is that you're working with. And then also getting those students to be able to share how they're feeling about the learning. So it's not just about the actual learning themselves, but it's about how they're feeling about the learning and how they're actually connecting with that. And I use an example that I was working with a sports team, and that particular sports team was not doing very well in that sports team at all. And then one of the things that we brought in was that at the beginning of every day, we were able to connect with them so that that sports team would share something about themselves. And then what happened was, as they started to begin to share and get to know each other, they then understood what that teamwork was and what that actually meant. So that if, for example, one of those sports people was not getting up to speed, not doing as well on that particular game, what they would then be able to do is then go back and then as a group and team, they would be able to understand the reason those people weren't doing that. The reason they weren't doing it is because they were actually because they got to know who they were, and they were falling apart somewhere in their lives, and there was much more of a connection with them. So I really, one of those parts, that's probably, in the short amount of time that I can speak, that's the best things that I can say about connecting you. And thank you so much for having me. Karina, I always thank you so much for all your support, and how I can help you in any way I possibly can. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sacha Kuladi. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to invite Manisha Kaur from USA, and she's going to talk about this media literacy and human privacy.
Hello friends, I'm sorry I could not be in person. My presentation time converts to 2 a.m. here in the US, but I'm fortunate that technology is enabling me to still reach out to you. And speaking of technology, it has not only revolutionized the way people network, but it has also changed the way we use and talk about media. A few years ago, media was restricted to televisions and radios. Our children will probably never know what a radio looked like or how it worked. Imagine that. With the integration of technology, media has a much wider reach now. The world seems to be at our fingertips. Media use is no longer about sitting in front of the television to know about the world. Rather, it has become the world in its own right. And this is the world where our kids are migrating to. I don't wish to get into the ethical question of whether media is right or wrong for our kids. I'm interested in sharing my observation about how media is equivalent to socialization for young adults and adolescents. And these are some of the topics we would be covering during this presentation, short presentation. What is socialization? It's a lifelong developmental process, and there are two ways of looking at it. In fact, both of them together, it gives us a broader perspective of socialization. One is the idea of rules and regulations, the idea of doing right thing, becoming part of the culture or becoming part of the community. The other part is the psychological need of finding one's own identity, of asking yourself, what is it that I can do differently, or I can contribute to the world? For example, more often than not, we see structure formation, which is about the social rules, most prevalent during the formative years in a community, like at home or school. Accepted norms are cheered or rewarded, and unacceptable behaviors are modified, punished, or discouraged. During very early years of life, forming individual identities are difficult because we often look up to someone, almost always. It's not possible to develop as an independent thinker without the ability to ask questions. If we reflect, children are curious during their growing up years, but that curiosity is geared toward finding answers to questions, and they want to learn everything in one day. But those questions or that curiosity is not geared toward finding alternative ways or, wanting to know what's more to something, to a concept. Although development of self or individualization begins very early, for example, with the questions like, Mommy, is Santa real or is God real? Its real force, the actual force behind that individual thinking, is not triggered until pre-teen years or pre-puberty years. And that explains the rebellion. Anybody with teenage kids would understand what I'm saying. But that desire of finding oneself in the crowd is very important from the perspective of socialization. Believe it or not, media has played an enormous role in the process of achieving a digital and therefore a global citizenship. Let's explore how. Whether we talk about TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, I don't know, the list goes on. It's hard to recall all of them, but teenagers are on top of all these portals. They connect with friends, they comment on each other's posts, they express themselves the way they wish to. And that's very important for asserting their identity or forming their identities. They're no longer passive recipients of information, or learning is no longer limited to the classroom. I'm sure there are many other examples, but GEN, Global Education Network, alone has the entire program devoted to bringing school children and their instructors under one classroom, a global classroom project. And thanks to Karina, now we have another one. These are not efforts in vain. These are attempts to help our teens find their voices and grow wings, so that they do not remain within the boundaries of doing homework, studying at a university, or later on struggling to find a job. They can certainly now demand more from life, and they should. If they are not connected with the world, they will never be able to shape it or reshape it. They're getting ready for when the world needs them. It's not about making presentations in front of audience. It's about engaging with the world and taking it head on. But while we celebrate media's contributions, we must also point out its liabilities. Living in the world of media is no different from living in a physical community. It demands civic competencies. Our kids have to know the evils in their digital society and how to protect themselves. This is a very, very important chapter in digital literacy. For example, what to do when you think you are being stalked, or how to remain private enough how to remain private enough to safeguard revealing too much about yourself. Just as we inculcate the fear of God or elders, we must build a value system in our teens. They must learn that breaking rules has consequences. This is essential to socializations. How many parents do you know who are able to prepare their kids for this process of socializations? If your response is very few parents, then we know where the problem lies. And we also know the consequences of it. Media literacy is not only for teens, it's also for educators and parents. Parents love too much and they allow their kids to the wild world too early and without much preparation. Just like we don't leave a 5-year-old biking in the street without adult supervision, we must never lose sight of our kids when they are in the world where they can be so vulnerable, because that makes us all vulnerable as well. As we say, it takes a whole community to raise a kid. School has a vital role to play in the socialization process. Protecting one's right to privacy should be a lesson. Instructional designers should launch programs demonstrating tricks and strategies to protect oneself from hackers or digital trolls. And this information is value to even parents. And so you see the whole cycle of information flowing from school to children to their parents, and then it's being recycled back into the community. And that's called being an evolved society. And digital world needs a lot of evolution on part of parents, school, and the rest of the community, and individual as well. Just to review, in my perspective, media is integral to adolescence. It's just another form of socializations, and in this process, there are pains and gains. We need to strengthen media literacy to maximize the gains and minimize the pains. That's all, but you may have questions or comments at this point. You can write them down in the chat and Karina will share them with me. We'll think of a way to respond to these questions. But I would like to say thank you so much for your time. I wish I was here. I wish I were there. But until next time, have a great one and enjoy the rest of the presentations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manisha. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. So now we have moved to our, the last part of the session. And for closing remarks, I'm calling Corina Sujida. She's from Romania and she's global coordinator for this, Global Education Network. And, she is the one who was behind all this arrangement making the profiles and these posters of everyone and making it possible. So here, Corina, it's up to you. It's your turn now.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, yes, we can.
First of all, I want to say you that I'm not the only one who is behind this event, but all of us has contributed in our own way. So what can I should say now? I believe, in my opinion, the event was wonderful from start to the end. Each of speakers we have today was truly amazing. And from everybody, we can take something for our own experience. Of course, media literacy, it's a wide topic, but I believe our speakers, our guests of today, point what is most important in this topic. Thank you, all of you, for being with us today. Thank you also to our attendees, because without them, we are not successful. And what to say more? Just meet you all tomorrow, 5:30 Indian time, for the second day, with also great guests and for a great event. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Corina. Thank you. And now here I'm going to share a vote of thanks on behalf of Corina and Mohyuddin and Global Education Network. Thank you very much, everyone, all the speakers, all the wonderful speakers, particularly our student speakers who joined us today and shared their valuable knowledge and information with us. And every presentation was wonderful, and many ideas regarding media literacy and how to, respect the human privacy was shared. And there were the pros and cons of media use and how we can respect the privacy of others. We talked a lot about cyberbullying and cybersecurity, and it was shared that media literacy needs to be added in the curriculum, and it's really very important point. So let's respect the privacy of everyone. Let's be connected with everyone, but by giving space to everyone. And I would like to thank all the participants from across the globe who joined this session and who attended it and made us feel proud that so many people were there to attend this session. I would like to thank Corina and Mohyuddin once again, and the whole team who made this possible and who who gave us this opportunity, and not only to me but to every speaker. So on behalf of every speaker as well, I'm going to thank Corina and Mohyuddin and this whole team of Global Education Network. So thank you very much, and good luck for your next sessions. And it would be a pleasure to attend all those sessions as well. Thank you very much once again, everyone. So it's time to say goodbye now. So thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, everybody.